right, how's everyone doing today? Excellent. Well, I'm John with Radiant Enterprises, and I want to do my best to explain to you our product, CryptoCard. But before I do that, I want to show you exactly how easy it is to commit credit card fraud in this country. And to do that, I'm going to need one brave volunteer from the audience to lend me his or her credit card for about 60 seconds. I promise we won't take too much of your money. All right. All righty, Mr. Fedor, thank you so much. I have Mr. Fedor's card here. I'm going to give it to Eric. You ready?
Yeah, the moderator got one.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll give you a little preview. Once Eric takes Mr. Fedor's card, what he's going to do is send it through that reader. It's just like any reader they have at any merchant where you go to buy anything. He's going to pull Mr. Fedor's information off that card. Then he's going to swipe his own 10-cent plastic empty credit card through that same reader. It's going to rewrite Mr. Fedor's information exactly to that card just as it was on the original. Now, once Eric has that clone, he can use that card to make any transaction in person, online, whatever you want, just the way Mr. Fedor would have done. And it's going to come, all that money is coming straight out of Mr. Fedor's pocket.
Right,
and I'll show you what I mean here.
Here we go.
So, hypothetically, of course. So Eric's going to take his card and swipe it through. For those of you who can see, we confirm Mr. Fedor's name pops up here, as does his entire credit card number. Now Eric's going to swipe through that clone card, and he's copied it. It took him 6 seconds, and believe it or not, he's an amateur at fraud. And he's got a perfect clone of that card. Now, Eric, I'm just going to ask you to swipe that clone card through to show the audience that it indeed carries Mr. Fedor's information. Now, just like his real card, you can see it's got his whole number and his name. Thank you so much, Eric. Mr. Fedor, you're in good hands. You got dinner's on Mr. Fedor tonight. You guys. Now, Mr. Fedor and everyone else, if you guys felt a little bit uneasy during that, you're not alone. Consumers feel that uneasiness every single day, but the guys who feel it most are card-issuing banks. And for that reason, they're going to be our target customer. Now, they feel that uneasiness for a few reasons. The main one is money. These guys lose $8 billion every year to credit card fraud, and less tangibly, they lose a lot of customer satisfaction. Now, the reason for that, two main things. One, cardholders lose time and convenience from credit card fraud every single day. How many times have you or a friend been on vacation and they call you and say it's suspicious activity, they freeze your card for 3 days, and now you can't buy anything for 3 days? More importantly, though, it causes peace of mind. Peace of mind is cost to these guys, and this is going to lead to some anxiety. Now, anxiety is so bad with cardholders that in America this year, a study revealed more Americans are concerned with credit card fraud than they are with war or terrorism. And this stuff's kind of abstract. Peace of mind is a little bit abstract, but I'm going to show you the real tangible ramification it has for banks. Now, last year, 69% of cardholders in this country had their card replaced due to fraud or a data breach. Of those users, 33% consciously cut back on their credit card use because of that fraud after it was replaced. Now, less credit card activity for consumers means less money for banks. So while this is an abstract thing that affects consumers, it has a very tangible effect down the line on banks. Now, obviously, banks need a solution that's going to save money, but more importantly, they need a solution that they can convince consumers will be easy to use and bring them back some of that peace of mind that's been eluding them. The solution that satisfies both of those is CryptoCard. Now, how it works is if you see the screen up there on the right, it works exactly like your regular credit card, except instead of stamping on a 16-digit number, we have an e-ink screen, just like your Amazon Kindle, and every 60 seconds, a pseudo-random number is generated and put back on that screen. This means that if you make a transaction at 5:33 p.m. and somebody copies that credit card number down, at 5:34 p.m., if they use that same number, it's expired. It's completely useless to a fraudster. Now, we verify that on our back-end server. Now, if you look on the right side, you'll notice this is representing our back-end server. That same pseudo-random number generator is on our back-end server. You have a unique algorithm for each user, and so at any time, the number on your credit card will be the exact same number on our server. If we receive a request for a transaction using a number that's old, we'll know that that's an attempt at a fraudulent transaction. So not only can we prevent fraud, we also can tell you exactly when and where fraud is attempted, and that's a pretty big breakthrough. But the most important thing about this back-end server and the way that the card is used is that this whole thing can be integrated seamlessly into the current payment structure for the United States. We could put this product on the street tomorrow, and no one would have to change any behavior except us. Consumers keep swiping cards just like they always did. Merchants keep reading the same information, sending the same information down the Visa or MasterCard pipeline. Issuing banks do the same thing with one small difference. Instead of outsourcing that authorization process to a company like First Data, they outsource it to our backend servers, and we verify it just like I showed you. Now, I'm going to contrast that with some of the competitors in the way that they integrate. Tap to pay cards, chip and pin cards, these are really cool pieces of technology, except that they're not compatible with existing infrastructure. Both of these require a new learned behavior for cardholders, a new learned behavior for merchants, and new hardware installed at these merchants just to be able to use this stuff. So whether it's a tap-to-pay scanner or a chip and pin reader, this is costly to merchants, and they have to train their employees how to use that stuff. With CryptoCard, there's no learned behaviors that consumers or merchants need, and there's no new hardware that they need to use this product. We could use it right away. But not only is it easier to use, CryptoCard is also more secure than these competitors. Now, tap-to-pay cards don't protect you from any kind of fraud. Chip and pin provides an interesting solution to some specific parts of card-present fraud. If there's a chip and pin reader, they can protect you from card-present fraud. But neither of these technologies prevents you at all from what's called card-not-present fraud. So anytime a fraud is committed where your card's not actually present through an online transaction, anything like this, CryptoCard's the only piece of technology that addresses this type of fraud. And that's a really big issue because card-not-present fraud is the single fastest growing type of credit card fraud. Now, there's a few reasons for that. People are making more and more online transactions every single day. How many times do you go to Amazon and order something instead of walking into Best Buy? The other reason is mobile payments. People use their phone now like a wallet. All of these new behaviors open up a wide window for card-not-present fraud, and CryptoCard's the only piece of technology that addresses that type of fraud. Now, we have this really easy-to-use product. It's very secure. Let's talk about the economic viability of actually putting it into play. So let's return to that $8 billion figure I gave you earlier. That's the annual loss that banks incur due to credit card fraud. And let's say CryptoCard is able to capture just 10% of that market. Now we're tasked with defending $800 million worth of credit card fraud. Let's take that $800 million and say conservatively that we can prevent 80% of that fraud using our new system. That right there amounts to a savings of $640 million of fraud per year that we've just taken off the face of the planet. The way that we plan to make revenue is by charging banks for that service. We're going to go ahead and charge them $1 for every $3 of fraud that we've saved them. So we'll take a third of that pie, and that's $213 million in revenue for CryptoCard. And that's huge for us, obviously. But it's also really big for banks, and I'll show you why through a different perspective. Let's use American Express as an example. These guys lose $600 million a year to credit card fraud, and that's by their own report, so that's a conservative number. Now, when CryptoCard saves them that 80%, we've just boosted their annual revenue by $480 million. That's about 6% of Amex's current revenue, current net income of $5.4 billion. That 6% is going to carry over to their earnings per share. Now their earnings per share, instead of $5.10, which it currently is now, jumps 6%, or 31 cents, to $5.41. That's a really tangible increase for shareholders. And so obviously we've got some ambitious goals. I want to show you the progress we've made towards those goals. First, I'll introduce you to our team. It's very diverse. We've got guys with economics background, psychology, a couple brilliant guys from computer science. All of us bring something very different to the table, and we attack problems very differently. So each of us has a very different solution to creative problem solving. And that's helped us a lot in the past year. For example, last March, we unveiled our first prototype. It was a little clunky, but it was completely functional. It does exactly what a CryptoCard will actually do. Soon after that, we filed for our first provisional patent. That's done. In June, we unveiled the second version of that prototype, slimmed it down a little bit, and we're just finishing up this month the third and final version of that prototype, which I can show you upstairs right after this. Now, for future progress, we're going to get that non-provisional done in September. We're working with our lawyers very closely right now. And if we secure the right funding, we're going to launch a 10,000 card pilot program early next year. This is just to get our product in the hands of consumers, get it on the street, and prove to consumers that it saves time and brings peace of mind, and prove to banks that it saves money. And in the summer, we'll get those results back from that program. And the following year, 2016, we'll scale fully, and from there, we'll be able to start making a profit. Now, we've already, to that end, received some really positive feedback and even a little bit of funding as a result of our hard work. We won a few contests on campus that provided us with $30K worth of prize money, roughly. We've also had some really, really interesting discussions with a few card issuers, including Capital One, Barclays, and American Express. All three of those guys have expressed interest in sitting down to meet with us once we have that third and final prototype done. And like I said, that's coming at the end of this month. And as I alluded to earlier, that pilot program, and this is my last point here, that pilot program we really feel will prove our worth to consumers and banks. And so that's what we're going after right now. Now, to get that going, we're asking investors for $500,000, and I've spelled out kind of where we're going to allocate those funds. About $200K is going to go into the actual production of those cards, and that will be cheaper in the future as we scale even larger. But at 10,000 cards, that's the cost. We need an additional $180,000 for installing and maintaining those back-end servers, and $100K is set aside for other expenses such as marketing and legal fees. And like I said, once we get that program off the ground, we really feel that we'll have proven to consumers and to banks that not only is the peace of mind and the money, not only is the peace of mind valuable, but also the money that banks save, to the point where you really won't be able to operate in the 21st century without this technology. And we hope you'll work with us on that. We're really excited to answer any questions you might have about it. Like I said, we have all our prototypes upstairs, and we'll be around all day to talk to you guys, and we're super excited to show you what we have in the demo. So thanks so much.